Let's call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee and Bridge and Port Authority for Monday, March 29th. And I believe that our first order of business is a review of the February financial statements. Good afternoon to everybody, incidentally. Patty Nisko, would you run over what you think are the significant points in the statement?
Thank you, Mr. Coffin. We look at the statement of financial position. If we look down under our assets, our accounts receivable is $197,000. Of that, 93% is current or 1 to 30 days. So we have very little money out a long time. Our deferments that we awarded some of our tenants have all been paid back. So we are on good footing with receiving the money from our tenants. If we move down to our construction in progress, we are up to $15,298,000. That is all projects that have been begun but not completed. When that work is completed, those items will become fixed assets. The majority of what we're seeing in here now is the bridge work, the harbor deepening, and the beginning of some of the projects at the airport. We get down to our current liabilities. As we started last month, we have our accounts payable split out into regular or normal operating accounts payable, the New York State Retirement, and the New York State Tiger and Bridge Repair. That at the end of February, that totaled $2,500,000. We have since paid off the $1.2 million on the New York State Tiger and Bridge Repair, so that is completely gone. And our regular accounts payable are down to $732,000. So we have brought down our regular accounts payable by approximately $200,000, and the Tiger is right now at a zero balance. My understanding is that Piasecki will be beginning bridge work again for the spring, mid-April, so we will see that Tiger and bridge repair start to fluctuate again toward the end of April. Any questions on the statement of financial position?
Any questions, Dave?
Go ahead, Chris.
I was just asking Dave King whether he had any questions, or you, Sam?
Nope, I'm good on that.
Okay.
I was going to ask if we've come up with a plan to pay that New York State retirement.
I'm sorry, Sam, I didn't hear the question.
I'm asking Patty if we have a plan on how to pay New York State retirement. What our original plan was to take some of the funding from the draw on our line of credit from Tompkins to pay that down. But Tompkins is requesting that we make a concerted effort to get that line of credit paid down and or off by June. So I will be speaking with our representative at Tompkins to see if we pay the $100,000 back that I'm holding on to, if we would then be able to take a portion of that back to then put towards the retirement. And then as we did last summer, we paid a certain amount every month for approximately 6 months, and we had the balance paid off, which is what we're hoping to do, only earlier.
And so we'll have a better start than we did last year.
Right.
Better net gains to go forward, so we should be able to take care of it in a more compressed time.
We're hoping to have it paid off by August instead of November. We have started using the 2021 PPP for the regular payroll. In March, we have the insurance buyout that came out of our general fund, and we use the PPP to actually pay the payroll. We also have the HSA payments that just were due. That's come out of our operating fund. So we're trying to keep the payroll under control with the PPP and paying the extras that come up out of the general fund. So it's being split a little bit to help continue both as long as possible. Now we'll go on to the bridge fund. We are coming into the end of the fiscal year. We only have the month of March. So we are well over budget on bridge toll income, thanks to some of the construction going on at the Thousand Islands and other factors that have given us more than we anticipated in truck traffic. Our rental income is down, mostly due to the duty-free that hasn't been able to open. Our other income is down as we have received no advertising income this year. You'll notice that the PPP is over budget, or lovely over, by the amount of the 2021 PPP that was not anticipated when the budget was done in 2020. We had no idea that this would extend this long and would bring on the need for another PPP. Our salaries and wages are down, partly because of last summer's summer help was not fully utilized. Now part of our retired industrial development director is not with us, so we are seeing some savings across the board in personnel. Our payroll taxes and employee benefits, we've discussed before, that are not being properly split out with the rest of the OBPA. They are remaining pretty current, pretty much steady across the board. We received some new quarterly insurance bills, so our insurance went up a bit. The interest expense is down because the wind turbine project interest is in the wind turbine, not in the bridge. Our maintenance and bridge maintenance expenses, we are just holding the line on absolutely everything we can. Our utilities are up a little bit, and general expenses are up mainly because our legal expenses are up and our maintenance and service agreements came in a little higher than were budgeted. So overall, for February, the change in net assets without the PPP would be 133,000 in the negative, and year to date would be 1.7. Any questions? If not, we'll move on to the budget to actual overall for the port. All the port funds together for February and the year to date. Our rental income across the board is up about $18,000. Much of that is still due to Veritas buying out their lease. Our fuel sales and fare charges, of course, are from the airport, and they are way down for the year. The port operating and rental fees, I did some research as this number is not going down at all. The wind turbine project we know is done, and due to not needing security and some of the storage fees, that was going to come in under budget. I've done some research into what happened with the straight port operating and rental fees. Wharfage was budgeted for the 2020-21 year at $929,000. We've only taken in $103,000. But we've had other items such as truck loading income that had no budget, that has an actual right now of $44,000, and a storage budget of $35,000 that has $120,000 actually coming in. So it appears that the former CFO may not have had a good understanding on how the court works. Some of those numbers are just so off in one or the other direction. Our CARES Act, we haven't put in for as much as we had budgeted, but we are using it, and our monthly total is coming in at around $130,000 to $133,000 a month. We were just informed, the question was asked, and we were just informed that we are able to go back to January of 2020 and pick up the OBPA portion of any grant money. The FAA pays their share, the state pays their share, and the OBPA is allowed, has their share, but we are allowed to request our share back on the our share of the grant. And right now it looks as though we might be able to garner about $8,000, which we weren't anticipating. Everything else is pretty much as it has been. Our salaries and wages are up, partly because of the longshoremen this summer. We also have the winter overtime that has been attributed to that is only up a few $1,000s from January. Our payroll and employee benefits, as we said, they have to be straightened out so that next year the percentages due to every area is correct. Our insurances and interest expenses are about where they should be. Maintenance expense, we are trying again to keep all of that down, and our general expenses are below budget. So therefore, without the CARES Act help, we would be about $291,000 in the red overall for February, and $2.9 million in the whole year to date. Any questions?
I don't have any, no.
I'm good as well. The only question that I might have had, and it came back to me here, there was, what was the question in there about wharfage? Was that the word I heard?
Yeah. I will defer to Stephen. I have no idea what wharfage is.
Yes, we would generate that, Steve. How would, I don't know as I recall that being something we built for.
It's a fixed, it's a fixed number that it's all based on when the ship docks. So that number is just, like Patty said, isn't reasonable at all. There must be an understanding where they defined another income number. We called it wharfage when it all depends. It all depends on the number of ships you have coming in, and it's just what she said. It was misrepresented, not intentionally, but misunderstood, I believe.
And the March financials will be draft only because we will be going into the audit. Next month, the auditors will actually be on site in May. So we tend to keep March open a little bit longer to catch anything before the audit.
Is there anything else, Patty, that you want to bring up?
I don't think right now, sir.
How do you, I believe this is the first time that you've gone through the audit period.
Yes,
I assume that you're working on being prepared for them. What sort of interaction have you had with the accounting firm at this point?
I did want to change a journal entry that's been going on for probably 3 years that has an incorrect number in it. I explained that to the auditor, and they agreed with my change to the journal entry. It has to do with the macro services. It doesn't change the way we do business, it just changes how it was being reported. I have updated the internal control documents for accounts receivable and accounts payable, and just received a very nice email just before this meeting, thanking me for enlarging the document and making it a lot more thorough. I had some good help from Kathy Green, from our accounting supervisor, to get the points correct so that they seem pleased with the direction we're going in already for the audit.
Well, that sounds good. I think that working with them before they arrive on the scene often makes it easier to comply, deal with it once they're on scene.
Right. And if they have any questions, we can often get the answers before they show up, and it's not so much a scramble to find the information.
Mm-hmm.
We're also planning the end of this week to, at the end of, well, our fiscal year ends on Wednesday, so Thursday and Friday, we're planning a comprehensive review. So the young lady who does payables, her payables will be given to the receivable clerk, and she will go through an aging report and make sure that, say, all of our invoices that haven't been paid are indeed in the file. The receivable clerk's work will go to the payroll clerk, and we're just going to move some of these tasks around to make sure that everything we have on in accounts payable, in accounts receivable, in payroll are actually something that we can put our hands on for the auditors. And that way we won't get too far into the process before we will hopefully have caught many of the things that we're looking to make sure are correct.
That sounds great. Well, sometimes I get kind of, I feel a little confused by all the details. And I've been really this month trying to bring the information that was presented down to something that would be simple enough so I feel as if I understand it. And I'd like to summarize what my conclusions were in a very large sense as opposed to the specific accounts. It appears to me that the total revenue and the total expenses produce the change in net assets before depreciation, and that the depreciation is an important issue, but it doesn't require a specific output of cash during the past year. And that if I bring together the port fund and the bridge fund and look at the 11 months that we have through February, it appears to me that without depreciation, we still show a positive number. And
Yeah.
probably although that does depend on the CARES Act and the PPP program, that it's probably improved our working capital a little bit, and maybe explains a little bit of how we've been able to nibble down some of the accounts payable. But as we look forward, without asking anybody to put a date on when the border will open and bridge traffic might start to creep back up again, with the current Recovery Act and the current PPP program, it looks to me as if we've got solid footing in terms of cash available to maintain our operation for 3 or 6 months, depending on how far ahead you wanted to predict. And I wonder whether or not that same conclusion makes sense to you folks who are at the table and to you, David. Do you feel as if we're in good, able to count on being able to keep on operating with cash available for a quarter or 2 quarters?
I would say definitely a quarter. If we continue to get solid goods traffic, even with the trucks, we continue some of the work at the port that we hadn't expected or hadn't expected to the extent that we had received it, I think we will be able to keep a fairly solid footing for at least 3 more months, probably 6.
Well, that sounds like my read on the situation, and I know that as events come along, we have to just recognize their impact on the operation. Steve, you've asked us to consider how to deal with business development, given the development director's retirement, and we will consider that. But I would especially like, when we consider it, some sort of input from you on how you think that could be funded and what our options are.
I think going forward, Chris, is I guess it's kind of a wait and see, given, I don't know, I guess I'm going by feel and what I see. I think there's a trade-off there that I'm just careful with starting up and committing to things without knowing a definite future. I would say that, you know, if the bridge was open or the border was open full bore at a certain time, those decisions become a lot easier for us, and also allows us to concentrate on those things. But I'm still pretty cautious about everything. We're working at a real, you know, minimal level with everything, and we've learned that. But as you know, and you've said this to me before, is that eventually that it's going to come due, especially when it relates to maintenance and things like that. So I guess I'm just trying to balance all of that going forward without. But I do recognize that we have to look at things such as the development director of development position, and I am aware of that.
Sam, do you have a timetable when you intend to bring that topic forward for discussion?
I would say maybe in a couple months, maybe sooner. It really is just going to play off of. You're really going to be dependent on the border. That will answer a lot of things like this. that finish line just seems to be getting pushed out, and I would have sworn a couple months ago that I would know more at this time. I will say two things. You know, Patty and I have talked about this, is that we do believe we're in a lot better shape than we thought we'd be. But when it comes to the bridge, we're behind on our timeline of where we thought we'd be. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Yeah, so if I don't know, October or September last year, if you said, where do you think we'll be in March? I said, oh, we'll have a pretty good idea of where we're headed. That's not where I'm at right now, where I don't really, Patty gets some information, you know, anecdotally from Canada, and, you know, some of it's positive, some of it is neutral, and some of it, you know, goes against both of them. So, we're just, you know, hoping that we get some definitive answers on going forward in the future.
I just got, go ahead, Chris.
No, I'd be pleased to have you speak, Dave.
I'm just, you know, I agree with what you said there, Chris, that, you know, it appears we've done a good job at trying to get ourselves in shape so we can handle a little bit of time. We've been propped up by some nice help from the government, for sure. But I know we need to focus what our revenue drivers are today and how do we expand those. That's the way we're going to win this battle. And that's the park, that's the port, and it's the bridge, really. And so it just, and maybe, I don't know if this is the finance committee or the facilities committee, but just making sure we're in step with Adam, and I'm sure Steve is, about what Adam's trying to drive for the port. Obviously, it's more important than ever without John in the middle. And so, and the park and where we're going with that. So is it more appropriate, and this is more of a question, Steve, I don't know, is it more appropriate to be more, we don't really touch base with Adam very much, but is it important to touch base with him more, at least, or you do it, maybe you're doing that already, so.
Dave, I do it on a daily basis, but, you know, for the board, there may be, at one of the committee meetings or something, you know, really to have him in front of you to ask questions, and also get across to him, kind of what you're discussing right now. Not that he doesn't know that, but, together you might have a better feel of you know, what you're looking for, and also you might have a better feel to understand, you know, to know that he's aware of that and working on it.
Yeah, it just seems, I mean, I'm sure he's doing a great job. That's not the issue. I just trying to make sure that we help him in any way he needs help to continue to drive revenue, and him in that in regard, and what we're doing at the with our tenants. So, okay.
You want him at the next meeting, Dave?
What's that?
You want him at the board meeting on the 8th?
I don't know if I guess I'm not really prepared, and I'm not certain. I don't know. I'm like you say, Steve, you're talking to him every day, but knowing how important revenue is to us, I mean, we got to lean on Adam more than ever, and hope, you know, help him shoulder whatever he's doing. So
That's right. Yep.
Lean's probably a bad word. I don't mean to lean on him. To lean with him, I think, is probably more like it. So. I don't know. You want him at the board meeting, Sam? I don't know. I mean, you've got enough to cover probably, but maybe we can cover that in the facilities meeting.
work right now with this new plot.
Yeah, Dave, maybe we should put that off until, May.
Yeah, that's
We'll be
fine.
closer- No, okay, we'll be closer to more of reality, what's gonna happen over the summer. He may be able to give us better information than what he could provide right now.
Yep, that's fine. I'm good with that.
Okay, good, good.
Is there any other discussion or business for the meeting?
Well, Chris, along the same lines that everybody else has talked about, I think we're better off than we were last year, or where we thought we would be. I can see us being okay through the summer. I have real concerns going into the third quarter of the year, if that border isn't open. And, I think we need to keep on top of things between now and then. And at that particular point, if the border is not open by the 1st of September, we may need to make some real difficult decisions.
I think that makes sense to really control costs for, I was going to say the short term. I'm thinking 3 months. It seems to me that there are such important things that we don't know that we can't really project very far ahead, because things could change in a month or in 2 months, and that it's just prudent for us to look a few months ahead and act conservatively until we do get some answers to some of these big long-term questions.
I agree with that.
And at the same time, we have to address business development, and so let's discuss that at some length at a meeting. See whether there are any answers to it other than going out and hiring, filling that position, because there probably are. There probably are some answers. Is there anything else to discuss today?
I'm all set.
Nice to see you all. We need to get back to face-to-face meetings at some point.
Let's do it on the 8th.
I'm ready because I consider myself impervious, having had my vaccinations. David, you're such a young guy. You probably haven't been vaccinated yet.
I've been vaccinated twice. I'm good. That's
Hey.
good news of being fat.
Way to go.
So,
Chris, this is Steve. I've got a little side note that involves you that, we were looking at a radio advertisement with the radio station here. And I got talking with some of the employees there, and we just got talking, and I just talking my age and what happened in FM radio here, and I brought up the term PAC 93, 92.7, and unbeknownst to me, I never knew what PAC stood for.
Well, tell me.
Huh? Tell you?
Yeah.
But I didn't know this, and since I now know you and I know your wife, it stands for Pat and Chris. Is that correct?
Steve, that is one of the things that sort of made it make sense. But we discovered that, or realized it, if you would, only after the call letters were assigned. I really picked that because it was a single syllable, PAC, with the final letter being C, because I wanted to do a promotion that involved the Seaway. You're listening to the Seaway. But we never did that.
So, yeah, so this is this entire rumor that I heard that it's really, it's not factual, right? Well-
It's, you know, that's the kind of lore that grows up about unimportant things sometimes.
Between the man and the myth, right?
That's right.
Believe the myth. Right, well, I loved it, and, knowing you and everything, I said I might just take a shot at that, to find out, how that came about. And, I appreciate you enlightening all of that, but it just tied into what we were doing, and I just thought that was quite a remarkable story.
Well, if there's no other business, we'll adjourn the meeting.
We need a motion.
I move
I would
to
move to adjourn.
Meeting it. So long, all.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.